Good day, everybody. John Morrow, distinguished Toastmaster, the author of I Never Noticed, My Journey Through Alzheimer's with Mom, and also a professional speaker on the same subject, the story of Alzheimer's, Alzheimer's victims, their families, and the caregivers, both family and professional, that deal with them. I've been doing a series on understanding the personality of the victim when they are in situations which pose a definite threat. And I share this with you because I want you to understand that there were a tremendous number of emotions that occurred in my life, and there was a time during this process with Mother where we were estranged from each other because I did not understand the right way to approach an Alzheimer's victim when they're doing something which we know by common sense and logic is a bad thing. It's damaging, it's harmful, it's detrimental. It could ultimately either place them in physical danger or place them in financial peril. And so in my last conversation, I had told you about the confrontation with Mother, what we refer to as intervention, and it's one of the chapters in my book. I was shocked and stunned at my mother's response when my sister and I confronted her and said, "We've been down to the bank. We've looked at the transactions you've been involved in. We've looked at your telephone bill, which was a cell phone that she had in her name, and we have looked at other factors, and we have found that you have been giving money away in huge amounts." Now, it's important to understand just how alarmingly dangerous this was. Dad died a little less than 1 year earlier. He died on June 29th, 2010. And there was this period of time from Dad's death where we were with Mother in the final business of Dad's estate and his funeral and burial. And we were working with Mother on that process. And then I had the opportunity in the latter part of the summer to have Mother go on vacation with us so that we could have some quality time with her and take her to a place that held a lot of very special memories, a place that my wife and I have grown to love dearly. But my loving of it actually began as a child because my mother and father took me there, but what made it especially important to Mom and Dad, it was where they spent their honeymoon. And it's where they would go back, and in going back with family vacations, they would introduce us to this place. So my wife and I spent that time with Mother, and it was good, and it was pleasant, and it was enjoyable. But I noticed she spent a considerable amount of time on the telephone talking to people. I would inquire, and she would say, "It's just a friend." So when we had the confrontation with Mother that occurred in March of 2011, and we all left and went our separate ways, there was definitely a disconnect between the children and Mom. Mom was furious. We had put our noses into business which was her personal and private business. I remember to this day her words when she said, "It's my money. I will do with it as I please." And we tried to reason with her. And there were times when we actually thought we made a breakthrough, but we didn't. And when she would not cooperate, we would grow frustrated to the point of becoming angry with her. She was behaving childishly. And we would scold her. And she would say, "I'm the mother. You don't talk to your mom like you're the parent." This was a conflict. Think about it for a moment. This is the woman that is my first love. She bore me. I remember those nights laying in my bed when Mother was working swing shift. And she, as I'm going to bed, would have to be headed out the door to go to work at midnight and work until 8 in the morning. And my mom would be gone. That sort of thing leaves an indelible memory of the separation because I missed Mom even though we would have both been sleeping. But the one thing that I could count on my mom to do was she would every night come into that room and she would get there with me and she would put her arms around my neck. She would hug me and she would kiss me repeatedly. And I would kiss her because this woman was precious to me. She was my first sweetheart. Now I'm telling my mother that she is behaving badly. She has enough of a sense of what's going on, even though she is in the stages of Alzheimer's, to know that this is not how children talk to their parents. But as far as the judgment was concerned, she could not make the connection to the people that she was giving this money to willfully and freely, and the fact that their purposes had nothing to do with her receiving a prize, an award, a sweepstakes gift, a car, or a telephone, or anything. All they were doing was taking advantage of her and scamming her and stealing the life savings that she and my father had worked so hard and so diligently to save. They were tremendously smart and resourceful people. And understand, my mother was a brilliant woman. But when Alzheimer's attacks the neurons in your brain and starts choking the life out of those cells, it ultimately destroys the capacity to remember things that you do and to make decisions that are appropriate. And if you add the element of vascular dementia, which we would learn later she also had, there is a temperament problem. So what we had was conflict. We had verbal warfare. We had anger. We had frustration. And when we left to return to our homes, there was estrangement. Mom now saw us as the enemy. You need to begin to realize that if you're seeing things that are odd and unusual and disturbing in your relationship with a loved one, spouse, parent, sibling, you need to stop for a moment and understand you're not dealing with the normal human brain. You are dealing with a brain that already is being damaged, and it is systematically being damaged with each passing moment of every single day. Once I began to read and understand the basic makeup of Alzheimer's and its very systematic and almost maniacally cruel pattern of how it destroyed parts of the brain almost in sequence, I began to realize that if I was going to do anything to help my mother get through the process and save herself and be a part of that process, we had to make amends. And I had to step up a few weeks later, contact my mother, tell her on the phone, almost weeping, how sorry I was for the way I treated her. We didn't talk about what it was that we argued about. To be truthful with you, she had forgotten most of that. She just remembered the anger that we had with each other. That seemed to set in. But all of that changed when she allowed me and accepted my apology. And thus began the mending process. I shared this with my sister to let her know this is how we must approach a mother. We must approach her as an individual who's not aware of the call she's making, the judgment she's making, the decisions she's making, the choices she's making with her money. We needed to connect with her through our love. And through love, we had a person willing, at least, to give us a chance to work on her behalf. Other events would take place that would fall in and help to get this problem rectified. There was a lot of prayer, a lot of soul searching, and there would still be moments of conflict. But the connection was restored. And it's important that you keep that connection with that victim as long as you possibly can, because at the end of the day, the thing that I knew in my mind once I understood this disease was, someday, my mother will not know who I am. Do I really want for that last time to be a moment where she wished she had never seen my face? Think about that. And the next time you think you're getting frustrated because a person keeps asking you the same question again and again, or makes decisions or choices or runs off, don't jump on them and scold them like a child. This is not a child. This is a victim. Love the victim and begin to work towards creating the best possible environment for that victim to thrive in the midst of a disease that sadly is going to kill them. I'm glad sharing the opportunity with you. Thank you for your time. There's more, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. So long.